Are close enough to being straight up 5 o'clock. If you will stand and join me for the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will call the meeting to order. Whoops, I just lost. I don't think I really need a wind cover in here. Call the meeting to order and ask first, council, you've all had the opportunity to review the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the agenda as is, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous ayes. Let's go into the consent agenda, which will consist, as indicated, of the minutes from our last meeting, approval of the warrants from in the amount as shown, payroll in the amount as shown, and the February monthly financials. Anyone want to pull anything out of that for discussion at this time?
I had a couple of questions on, well, I guess it's a total of 6 different charges.
Okay, on the
Yep.
payment of warrants?
Yep.
Any objection to moving to Councilman Burkholder's questions with regard to some payments? No objection, go ahead.
Okay, the first one was on page 3. It's about midway down. There were 3 charges on there for boots. Like one was at Vanderbilt's, one said Red Wing, and one was Tractor Supply. I was just curious what. Electrical, okay. And then on page 4, there was a charge at this flag shooter. It's like $287.65, and it was 3 different times. I was just curious.
Putting flags in the ground.
Say that again?
It's a locating, for locates, find flags.
Okay,
And
okay.
he got a new gun.
Gotcha.
For the marking paint and everything, that's very good.
Okay, cool. I was just curious what it was.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions about it? All right, thank you. The agenda is on the screens in front of you, and I think there are still some copies on the bandstand out there, wherever the lectern, if anyone doesn't have one. Does anyone have any comments with regard to matters that are on the agenda for tonight? Okay, come on up and take. We went through this last time, so I think we agreed we'd just be formal, so please state your name and what it is you're wanting to talk about.
Okay, Ruth Herpel, and I just have a couple of questions that, first, I seen the one that was on the payment sheet for $89,969 for a loader or a skid. When was that approved by council?
It was in the budget for this year. I'll defer to Mark if you have it.
It was in last year's budget approved, and it was a skid loader for the public.
Okay, but isn't it a fact that it's money appropriated for that use, but it doesn't have to be spent, and it should be authorized by the council to spend it?
They're all being authorized tonight.
We've had that discussion. Okay. I think, Ruth, when something is in the budget, my personal feeling, and we've not talked about it as a council, that's going to be something we're going to talk about next week at our study meeting. But in my opinion, if it's in the budget for a department to buy something, and they have the opportunity to buy that thing, and they clear it through the city administrator, which was done, then that's not something that has to be run through the city council. Now, we could say, well, but we want to put some dollar amounts on it, as long as it's under a certain amount or whatever. And that's a discussion I think we need to have.
Okay, well, I hope you cover that at work session.
Yeah.
But also included in the budget is a raise for the city employees. And in the handbook for Marion, it says the council has to approve that. So this goes against what you're trying to say.
Well, that's a raise, not a purchase.
But it's still in the budget, and the money's appropriated.
I think there's some distinction there, but I get your point.
Okay. All right, let's move on to that. I just have a few questions that I'd like to make to the minutes. In the, of last meeting, the public hearing, those attending, I'd like to see Ron and Ruth Herbal's name added, Gene Winkler's name, Brian Bena, and Don Wilson and Stephen Wilson added as people that were attending. On the regular meeting, I would like to see Brian Bena's name added. You know, he was there. Okay. And then at the bottom of page 1, I'd like to see a heading inserted that says executive session. Everything has a heading on that minute except that particular item. And it just draws your attention to it right away. And then the last item I'd like to,
Can I cut you off for a second?
certainly,
And we'll come back to that. I'm asking you this question, Mark, because when I was looking through those minutes, I noticed that there was a list of, you know, not just the council members and people that spoke and so on, but people that were, I guess you'd say, in the
attending,
audience.
yeah.
Is that standard or normal, or to have that, to try to literally make sure you've got every human being that was setting out watching the meeting listed as being there in the minutes?
Unless they spoke, in previous seasons I've been in, we didn't put them in. And you have a sign-in sheet, I guess you could get it from the sign-in sheet if they signed in. We didn't have sign-in sheets.
Yeah.
But like if you had a big public meeting with 50 people, I don't know, if everybody talks, they were always identified.
Yeah,
Again, something to look into.
go ahead.
Okay, I just think it's important because like at the public hearing, I think that the public needs to know that there was actually people that were interested and had come and attended that meeting. Okay, on the last regular minutes, the public forum, I made a statement that I would like the council to consider purchasing the 2019. I'd like to insert that instead of the word old. Old to me describes something that's wore out. This is a truck that's 4.5 years old. And that's all I'm asking is that instead of, it says, Ruth Herbal asked council members to consider purchasing the old bucket truck. You know, 6 months down the road, I want to look back at these minutes and say, old, well, what year was that? And I'd like for him to say that purchasing the 2019 bucket truck when the lease expires, October 2024. 'Cause
I'd
that's-
like, oh, I'm sorry.
Go
You
ahead,
done?
because that's when it expires. She
So-
said when the lease is up.
The council's already approved the minutes, but that doesn't mean that we can't go back and say that, hey, there's been a request to make some changes, and if those changes are accurate. The ones that the council feels are relevant, maybe they all are, but I'm just saying that we can change the minutes now. We don't have to say, oh, we've already done it. So, council, what are your thoughts?
I don't have a problem with the changes that she suggested.
Ruth, let's walk back through, you had some suggestions as to additional people that should have been listed as being in attendance.
At least at the public hearing, because I think it's important that people know that people attend those.
Well, okay, and those names that you gave were?
Ron and Ruth, Gene Winkler, Brian Bena, and Don Wilson and his son Stephen.
I
Okay.
don't think Don was here for the public hearing, because he showed up late, I thought, right? That day you were.
Okay, and then what was you didn't like the use of the word old, you wanted the 19.
2019.
Okay,
And the lease expires October 2024. These are facts on that particular thing that I'll look back 6, 8 months from now and find out, you know, what we actually did.
so those are the changes that you would suggest be made.
Maybe everybody doesn't really review the minutes like I do, but I read them quite often.
The minutes should accurately reflect the actions of the council and how you got to that point and what the action taken was. It's not a transcript. And if we needed a transcript, I'd get a court reporter in here and we'd have a word for word. But these are all being recorded, so in terms of going back and seeing every little detail, anybody that wants to can go back and look at it, but that's okay.
Well,
I get, yeah, I would agree with you that probably if we've got more than one loader, or excuse me, bucket truck, saying the old one, we can identify what that is, but it would make more sense to just have the year, so I have no problem with that. So I'm gonna
Thank
make
you.
the motion that we make the, amend the minutes as requested by Ms. Herbal to reflect the attendance of the Herbals, Mr. and Mrs. Herbal, Mr. Winkler, Mr. Bina, and Don Wilson, and your son's name? Stephen Wilson. And also that we include in the description, with regard to the truck the old truck is the 2019 truck, and that the lease expired October 24th. That's my motion.
okay,
It was also Brian Bina and Missy Hill.
Did I not mention? I mentioned Bina.
well,
Usually-
in regular session. We need to mention him because he was in the executive session.
I thought you
In
said that the
attending.
only thing you were really concerned about was the public meeting portion.
Okay,
Well,
if you don't want him.
didn't say that, then
I
that's fine.
did,
just
I
think
did say that.
Okay.
But
Well,
people's gonna wonder why he was mentioned in the executive session, but he wasn't mentioned with the people. You know, he has to be present in order to go to the executive session. I just think it's important that those people,
okay. The people that I just named, Mr. and Mrs. Herbal, Mr. Winkler, Mr. Bina, and Don Wilson, and Stephen Wilson, is that number, are those people the people that you want to have shown?
Yes.
For everything? Okay.
For
I
the
will
public
amend my
hearing.
motion to include all those people. Is there any problem? Who seconded it? Tim? You have a problem with that?
Second your amendment.
Okay. All right. Motion as amended. Any other comments? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Real quick, I don't think we ever actually approved the consent agenda.
Yeah.
We just had the discussion.
Well, then it makes it all the better, right. All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Mr. Case is here with regard to the EMC insurance.
Like me over here?
I won't like you anywhere, but I would wish you would sit over there.
I would be glad to. So I realized the other day that only one of you sitting before me has heard any of my insurance proposals. That'd be Zach Collett. The rest of you are all new. I'm not gonna bore you too badly, although most insurance is pretty boring. But I do want to briefly go through and make you all aware of the different coverages that EMC provides through the package. Mark and I have sat down a couple of times and have gone through it, and I think he felt pretty comfortable with what we have. You should have all got a couple of pages that I sent. I'll just give you a little history. Case and Son provides insurance through the EMC Insurance Company. EMC insures about 90% of the cities in the state of Kansas and has been the clear leader in this market for nearly 30 years. We have delivered dividend checks to the city for 16 consecutive years, totaling $202,747 for an average of $12,672 per year, including last year's check in the amount of $15,490.06. This means that EMC and the city of Marion has had pretty good loss history, so that's why the dividend check is basically a little rebate you get back every year. So there have been many challenges in the insurance industry in the last few years. COVID was a driving factor in a lot of that. Increased building costs, labor costs, transportation costs, and the continuing cycle of severe weather has caused what we call a hard market. This has led to higher premiums, increased deductibles, and the tightening of the insurance market. Effective at your April 1st renewal, the property deductible for the city will increase to $2,500. The $2,500 deductible is not an increase. That's what it has been the last few years, but they're adding a $10,000 wind hail deductible per occurrence. So the good news with this is that the property premium has decreased by about $3,000. Other lines of coverage have seen slight increases. And I'm just gonna go down the line here and tell you what you have. You have commercial property coverage, which insures all the buildings and the personal property that the city owns. And the second commercial property is the property out at the airport, the airplane hangars and such. You've got general liability insurance, you've got business auto, you've got commercial inland marine that covers your mowers and tractors, things like that. You've got a commercial umbrella policy coverage, which goes over the top of all of your other coverages, hence the word umbrella. You've got government crime coverage, you've got a linebacker policy, which is another word for E&O coverage, which covers all of you as council members for errors and omissions. We've got law enforcement liability coverage, and we've got cyber solutions, which is a data processing thing. If you have a data breach, and a lot of your customers' information get out there, you've got coverage for that. So all of those make up your package. This year's renewal premium is $124,760, up about $4,000 from last year. So all in all, I thought that was pretty good news, and Mark seemed to agree with me. I think you guys are.
Mark thinks that's real good news, and I'd like to thank Mr. Ks for working with our folks on the application and the update on the buildings and things.
Yeah, Janet sort of got thrown into the fire. This year of all years, EMC wanted building questionnaires done for every piece of property. Year built, year roof, year wiring, plumbing was updated, all that good stuff. And there's not many people that are still alive that know that. So anyway, we got through it the best we could. So, any questions?
Questions for Mr. Case?
No?
You guys all know where you can find me, and if you ever want to talk about the city's insurance, I'd be glad to.
Lanning's Pharmacy?
We can talk over there. You can come to my office, wherever.
Mark, is the intent for Casey to present this, or for us to go ahead and approve it tonight?
We can go ahead and approve it tonight.
Okay. You've got it in front of you. Again, if you have any questions, ask them. If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the EMC insurance renewal through Case and Sons Insurance.
At the amount quoted, right?
Yes, at the quoted amount.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It's a unanimous vote. Ayes have it. Thank you,
Thank
Casey.
you.
Thank you for being
here
here.
and presenting that.
On the agenda is a library board appointment, and the library board has requested appointment of Mark Hall to serve a 2-year term that would end April 30 of 2028. Any discussion with regard to that?
You just said a 2-year term, you mean a 4-year term?
Just for clarification.
I said 2 years?
Yeah, you said
It's a
2.
4-year term.
It's a 4-year term.
Yeah, he's replacing Mary Griffith. I take it if he's replacing Mary, then Mary's term must be ending. Do you know, Janet?
I don't know. It must be.
Okay. Anything?
I'm assuming they've talked to Mr. Hall.
I think that would be really rude if he just told me that. Something else for our our study session, make sure they ask the person before they send the nomination in. I talked to Mr. Hall about things, but not about the library board, but I know he wants to get involved more in the community now that he's retired, so I assume that's probably part of what this is. I will, at this point, move to appoint Mark Hall to the library board. Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Unanimous approval. With regard to item A, the municipal judge vacancy, the little bit of background, the municipal judge for Marion had been Randy Pankratz for several years. Randy is an attorney in Newton. During the term, he resigned, and the person appointed, and I literally met her briefly one time, and like the next day found out she was leaving. And I'm sorry, what was her name?
Randy Roy Bachman.
Bachman?
She's out of,
Emporia.
she's also an Emporia prosecutor, she's out of Topeka.
She lived in Topeka and
Yep.
commuted in
And
Emporia.
she's taking
Yeah.
the job in the city of Topeka.
Yeah, she's now going to work in the city attorney's office, I think, for Topeka. So obviously, she didn't want to further the commute clear down here. We have an opening, and Mark and I have talked about it, and hope to have someone to put before the board at the first meeting in April. So, yep, that's really it on that, Mark,
Yes,
unless there's anything
that's
else you
all.
want. Okay. Bucket truck lease financing, Mark.
Yeah, this is, something that was started last year. The city ordered a chassis, it was sent to the Altech, the company. My notes indicated the original chassis about a little over $70,000. City paid for that. All the improvements of bucket and all the safety equipment and accessories, another $159,971.85. So the city paid for the original truck, put down 30 on that, which left $129,972 to finance over a 3-year lease purchase agreement. The city city clerk put out bids. We had one back from Central National Bank at 5.59 interest rate, APR 5.73. So this will help pay for that. This showed up early, I think, as was indicated. They thought, the notes I had when I got here, they thought it'd be here in November, December, January. It showed up early. So we're still working with Alltech on the prior truck, that we need to get this going so we can pay for it, because we have it in our possession. And I think the electric company, and we paid for it out of the utility fund. I think the department's really happy with it. And it will be used probably primary in the electric department, but probably elsewhere where needed. So we recommend you approve the lease purchase with Central National Bank.
Questions, council? With regard to I was gonna say the old truck, but let me say the 2019 truck, you're smiling back there. That you're still working with,
Yeah.
I know, because I've asked you about it, and it's apparently some phone tag back and
We're
forth.
playing some phone tags, so we'll have that cleared up this week.
Okay,
Get the answers on
yeah, by
what
cleared
our
up,
options are.
we'll have, yeah,
Yes.
okay. Are you asking for a council vote on that at this
Yes,
time?
I am.
I would move that we approve the proposed financing agreement for the new bucket truck. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion passes. Item 10, discussion of the upcoming work session. For the most part, council, I thought we ought to talk about, this is something that he has done a lot in Emporia, at least that's what he tells me. Maybe you want to speak to it,
But
maybe we start with that.
We used to have one regular meeting, first and third, Wednesdays, and study session, second and fourth. After I left, and different commissioners have different ideas, that was a long-standing, they now have them before, or they have a meeting, they move their meetings to 11 on Wednesday mornings, and they have them in the afternoon. A study session over the lunch hour into the early afternoon, so they're there 2 days. It's just something we found helpful to be able to just discuss items before you put them on the agenda when you can, and just have some open dialogue on different things. I don't know how often you need it, but I don't think it would hurt to have them once in a while, and we could talk about that.
I love the idea, and Mark's already seen part of my list, and there's no way we're gonna get through, and he hadn't seen all of my list, just the part I showed him. And we're not gonna get through all of it, but, and maybe we all bring our lists, and then we pick the ones we do wanna start working on. But, I don't know that, I guess we'll just have to see whether, I don't know that Mark is proposing, I think he's not proposing that we go to, having a council meeting every week, just 2 of them being study sessions. But I do like the idea of maybe getting on some kind of a schedule and having them on a regular basis, of some sort.
I don't know if you, again, we could talk maybe bi-monthly or some, just whatever you think's warranted.
So I assumed that we would just sit in here and just have a discussion. Mark proposed that we, because it's a more informal thing, that we've got that table right outside the door, conference table. I have no idea where it came from. It just showed up there one day. But someone stole a table and we're holding it for ransom, I guess. But we could easily use that if you wanted to, or we could stay in here, whichever you think makes the most sense. Mark had talked, why don't you talk about the way you did it in Emporia, in terms of, well, just talk about it.
You're talking about, we provided lunch, something like in your town, we have Subway sandwiches, or you get some sandwiches so you can kind of eat while you're going around, going over items or something, just very informal.
Does anyone have anything you'd like to request or say that it requires any kind of preparedness? I mean, if it's just something you want to talk about, well, we'll talk about it next week. But if it's something you think we ought to have available so you can talk about it, or information, or if you feel like you need to have a department head present, at this point, I wasn't planning on requiring anybody to be here other than Mark. But, well, and I suppose Janet, well, did you normally have your, did you normally have your clerk present?
Yeah, we did, and we also had whoever might have a topic to
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah. But at this point, I don't know if you know that you want to talk about a particular area that falls under someone's department, this would be a good time to say it right now, because we got most all of them here. Okay, well, I hope you have more to talk about next Monday.
But we're gonna, I made some start, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, okay. That was just it. I just wanted to kind of address the fact that we're gonna have it. It's 5 o'clock. And at this point, we'll plan on setting up around the table in the other room. Okay.
Do you want supper? Do you want lunch? Do you want dinner?
Breakfast, whichever.
Yeah, we'll just have some sandwiches.
My understanding is that Mark had already made that decision.
Okay.
I want brunch. Can you make that happen? Okay, with regard to department reports, I guess Mark will start with you.
I just, again, I want to thank Mr. Ks for all his work. I filled those insurance forms out before, so I know what's involved. And I know it's a little bit of old news, but Darren at EBH helped facilitate getting a small, $100,000 plus grant at the airport for crack center. That's a really good thing. I think it's a 90-10, 95. I think we have 12,000 into it. So that's a wonderful thing, and I appreciate him taking care of that. He has an interest in flying and knows how it works.
Thank you, Darren.
Pardon?
I said, thank you, Darren.
Oh, I didn't say that. I'm sorry.
She has to say that. He's her neighbor.
Yeah.
I'll go, we always, all things start with you, Margot.
I'm having allergy attack back here. I've been trying to see what I can do about Family Dollar, but I don't know that I'm a miracle worker. I met with a business today trying to see if we can offer some funding on something they're working on. But it's busy. It's just busy. I got lunch about 3:30, so it's busy. Got plenty to do. So if you got questions, fine. I want to come to the work session. I've got some stuff I need you to talk about, so.
And I don't mean like right now, but is anything that you want to give us a heads up on at some point before next Monday so that we would be able to, if it's like a question you're gonna ask, so that we could maybe have a good answer for you?
I'll see what I can put together.
Well, I'm not saying you have to, just think about whether you think it would be helpful if we knew what we were gonna be talking about.
Well, Mark and Tim and Stephen and I think might meet one more time this week, and then we'll have some information for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions for Margot?
Have you gotten a hold of anybody? Have you talked to anybody in regards to like corporate for family? No, nothing.
The phone lines have been all jammed up on the East Coast where their corporate is, and like you can't leave a voicemail or anything. I physically went to our store and went to the bathroom and got the district manager's name and number off the bathroom door. Because they didn't feel comfortable giving it to me. They said, well, if you go get it, then we didn't give it to you. And so I did. But I talked to her, but she said she had nothing to do with it. And
So
yeah.
do they know when the official closing?
Well,
Day will be.
I mean, I was told 2 months, but then I heard people been saying 4 weeks. And they put everything half price today. And so it's a little crazy, but
Yeah.
I'm real disappointed in that. But I'm not worried about having an empty building, as long as they don't outprice it.
Right.
I think we can make something happen there if we have to, but we'll wait and see. They are rebranding some of the stores, maybe just have them as Dollar Trees by themselves, and so we'll see if we get lucky enough for that.
Yeah.
But I'll keep trying.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did Margot, maybe I misunderstood, when we were communicating, I had the impression that you had some sort of email communication. Am I wrong about that? Must be, huh?
Oh, with the Family Dollar people?
Yeah.
I was hoping to get something. They told me I would. I haven't.
Oh, okay.
But, people have been calling, and the best thing to do is go on their Facebook page and their website and just fill out their survey, because you're not getting very far with the phone.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to do that, and I posted something on my Community Enrichment page to explain that. One of our citizens had checked all that out and explained it, and so I shared that.
The argument, at least my argument, would be that you've got somebody sitting in a metropolitan area that doesn't have any idea about locations of these stores particularly, but if you close Peabody, Marion, and Harrington, you're closing. If you put a pin in Marion and go around in about a 25-mile radius, you've got 3 stores you're closing, and that you'd think one of those, if you kept one of them open, it would pick up some business from the other 2. And I think the one in the middle would be the logical one to keep open. But we've got to get, how do we communicate that?
Well, and I made that point in what I did communicate. Their employees are saying the same thing. But I don't, when we lost Duck Walls, I was able to talk to corporate. And I asked them, did you look at our store independently, because our store is actually profitable? And they said no, it was a blanket decision, and that was the end of the conversation. So, yeah, I don't know, but we're trying.
Zach is tired of waiting.
The only thing for the police department is Dustin starts the academy next week. He'll be there for 14 weeks. And we've gotten some applications, we've done some interviews, we're setting up secondary interviews and background checks and all that kind of stuff for a couple of people. So hopefully we're still on track to have somebody start in the middle of April.
And well, I'm pretty sure this is true unless Mark just led me down Primrose Lane or something, but you and Mark had some time, had the opportunity to get together and spend some time last week, I think.
Yeah, last
Okay.
Wednesday, he came by the office and he was able to tour the building and we had a good chat. And
I assume if there'd been anything about that you wanted to say, you would have said it already?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Got any questions for us, Dak?
I have a question for Margot. I'm just curious if like the district manager's phone number was like on the bathroom door or it said like for a good time call. I was just sort of curious.
No, it's written in pencil, very lightly.
Let's move on. Tim?
Never a dull moment.
Street department, been working on,
Hey, yeah, there you
Been
go.
working street repair and stuff, and, I'm bad at public speaking, so you're lucky you're getting this. We're working on graveling some of the gravel roads and putting some millings down and stuff. We'll be getting a new load of hand patch here in maybe next week, and working on that. We've been working on the cemetery, trimming the trees in there. We're gonna hopefully finish that this week. Street sweeping's been ongoing, got some tree trimming in town going on, and electric department's still replacing some poles and stuff, and water plant's been doing some minor repair and little updating, getting some of the equipment hooked up that we've had for a while, so everybody's pretty busy.
This is something that we'll probably talk about at the study meeting. I'll just ask it because I don't know for sure what the answer is. In terms of what streets get what kind of treatment, what street gets nothing done, what street gets, we're gonna tear it out and put concrete in, what we're gonna patch, whatever. When's that decision made? Is it made well in advance, or is it, okay, it's spring, let's decide, or how do you do that?
We made a list a long time ago, probably with all streets that need attention, but like far as the replacement, the heaviest traveled and the worst shape is kind of where we're going. Like at the Roosevelt and Freeburn, we chose to go ahead and finish that, so it's complete around the whole hospital back to Main. And now the next, we're going to be on the 300 block of North Roosevelt is the plan, because it's really bad. So it's kind of that's how we look at it, I guess, with the administrator.
Okay.
And just kind of decide what needs attention most, I guess.
That was gonna be my question, so, like, when do you do that? Once a year, I assume you do that,
Well,
but,
when they, like every year, we try to budget so much for complete replacement, and then we kind of decide how far we can go, how much we can do.
okay, so as part of the budget process?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Anything else for Tim?
Just to elaborate a little bit on that, for the record, Darren Neufeld, EVH. The CIP, which we started with, probably 10 years ago, we update that every 1 to 2 years, depending on what it looks like might be coming up for the streets and other infrastructure, but streets, since you're asking about that. We try to do that here at about the April-May timeframe, so going into budget, you guys have a chance to say, okay, here's what we recommend for streets that need to be done and what needs to be done to them. Then you guys can say, yeah, that sounds good, no it doesn't, let's re-rack and stack. And then that way, going into your budget session, kind of, and we put together a cost estimate on each type of repair or maintenance that needs to be done to those.
CIP, comprehensive infrastructure, what is it?
Capital improvement.
Capital improvement plan.
See, you threw
okay.
me off with the comprehensive there,
Yeah.
Mike, sorry.
I'm sorry, I
Capital
was just
improvement
trying to
plan.
guess.
Yeah, capital improvement plan.
Capital improvement, okay.
And like I said, we do that for other infrastructure areas if it looks like we're having a need for it. Streets happens to be the one we do every 1 to 2 years at the longest. But we've got a CIP section for water, sewer, airport, streets. We did it for each one here a couple of years ago.
Do we know where that plan is? I guess I'm looking at you, Mark, but that's unfair.
I'm
We-
gonna say, but we'll find it.
We have it. It was on previous administrators' computers via email. Where it is at now, we'll get you another copy of the last one that was, I don't remember if we updated it last year on streets. Last year, they kind of already had in mind, and when I say they, Zach might be able to answer this better, the council kind of said, yep, this is the ones we're gonna do this year. So we really didn't end up doing a new CIP, rack and stack with scoring, because we go through and score streets based on a number of factors. So it's not, oh, hey, we're just picking this one randomly. It has to do with, like Tim said, the type of vehicles that drive it, the weights, the number of traffic counts. Is it just a residential? Is it a artillery street? You know, what's its function?
Yeah.
And so last year, I don't believe we re-scored the streets. So it's probably time to do that again here this year. But, and then we also like to throw the costs on it so you guys know what you might be faced with.
I just think that it'd be something good to look at.
Sure,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, and you had asked that question to me, if we still had those to get over here, and I haven't had a chance to dig them out yet since I was gone last week. But
Yeah.
we will get a copy sent to Janet and Mark with whatever, you know, the last one was that we did.
Thank you. Well, Darren's there with the mic. Anybody else have any questions for Darren?
I had also, well, back to Tim kind of a little bit, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that had come down several times complaining about the dust at the city.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I did talk to Tim, and they put some millings down on that, on the north drive to try that, and they went from the street to the water plant, and then, so at least we can kind of see if that makes a difference. And Tim seemed to think if it would, then maybe they would do that south drive then as well. But I think the north one was probably where the majority of that guy's dust was coming from, so. So they didn't you, did you just do that today? Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So,
We
anyway,
talked about that when you gave me the tour, and I was gonna be disappointed if you hadn't told me that you'd done it, but if you just did it today, I guess I can't expect it that quick.
so at least we can try and see if that makes a difference.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a good discussion, I bet you guys did too, about what you can do in that situation. If you buy a house near a big gravel lot, you've purchased a house near a big gravel lot. But we should do what we can do, but we can't pave the thing.
Right.
I mean, well, we can, but
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of people wanting roads fixed that aren't gonna be happy with it. Thank you. Anything else from anyone? Jan Ness? All right, we will then go to public forum. So anyone want to speak on any topic at all? Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta go back. There's a youth leadership, like the, what was it called? The
Marion County Leadership.
Marion County Leadership. They have a youth version of it that is going to be meeting with the county commission this coming Thursday at 1:15. I found out about this afternoon, but they would like someone from this group to be there. I'm going to be in Junction City that day. Tim was on the Leadership Marion County group. I asked him if he could manage to be there, but there's no reason why it can't be more of you.
What day was it you said?
This coming Thursday at 1:15. Okay, so.
I'm gonna try to, I should be able to.
Okay. And then finally, Janet, do you know whether we are paying for the Marion sign that's located at the intersection of 3rd Street and Highway 50? Well, we've got a sign on some farmer's property, and.
What was that last name? It started with G, didn't it?
Geiger. Is that the one at that location?
No,
That's not the right location. We can't figure that one out. I used to have the file, but a former employee took it. So I don't know, but we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we are working on that.
Okay, well, I'm just throwing it out there that if we are paying, and I assume we are, unless someone just is, out of the goodness of their heart, said, yeah, you can put the Marion sign there, and if they did, then we have no pull whatsoever. But if we're paying to have it there, then I want to talk to that landowner, about the signs that he's allowing to being put right below it. Because there's the big sign that says Marion County eyesore of the Flint
Oh.
Hills or whatever.
Yeah, Marion County eyesore of the Flint Hills.
Yeah. So I'm, just telling you, heads up, I'm trying to figure that out, I guess. Okay, public forum.
We're gonna do the counselor reports.
I am really trying to get this over with quickly, aren't I? Hold on to that thought. Start with you, Amy.
I don't have anything, surprisingly.
The only thing I have is, we went out of town this last weekend to Denver, and it just makes me appreciate living in a small town, specifically Marion, of, you know, seeing people you know and even people you don't know that are just friendly to you. That's all I've got.
Agree with that, yeah.
Nothing. It's gonna be short, I don't have anything either.
Okay, now's your shot.
Yeah, I'm Terry Cheezick, I'm on the airport board, and I like to schedule like a work day and get some dirt to fill in some of the sinkholes on the grass runways. The other board members are willing to donate their time and equipment to do it. We just need some dirt hauled out there and just need to see if there's any, if we get permission or if there's any liability issues or anything of us doing it ourselves, or if we gotta work with the city or what.
Well, I'm just gonna shoot from the hip here and say I think it would be better if you work in conjunction with the city, as far as, you know, having you folks help. If you wanna get technical enough, you could probably make a concern there, but, volunteer help, we'll figure that part out, okay? Tim, do you know Mr. Cheezick? I know of him. Know of him? Okay. Well, does what you know make you want to talk with him?
But, you know, now's the time to do when everything's greening up and growing to get a good stand of grass. Just trying to get the ball rolling and getting some of the dips filled in on the runways.
How much dirt are we talking
Like
about?
a dump truck load or?
Oh, well, they hauled 10 loads out last time and
They hauled how
most
many?
of that washed
10.
out, so we need at least that much more, not more.
Maybe Mark, could I hand that ball to you and let you coordinate with Tim and Mr. Cheezick and?
Probably get Darren involved in that, maybe.
We were the last time we hired somebody to do it. It just, like you said, it's tough when you put dirt in a certain pothole and keep it there.
How long did it last?
What happened is, well, number one, we didn't even touch what we really probably needed to do. It's kind of one of those that, really to do it right, you really need to reshape the whole darn grass runway. But then you're gonna lose that stand of grass that's out there, so you're kind of playing a guessing game as to, okay, do we take the chance of having to regrow the grass entirely and do, you know, $40,000 or $50,000 worth of dirt work, get it reshaped right, or do you try filling in the holes first to see if that makes it, you know, more manageable? So we kind of took step one last time and said, okay, let's go out there and try to level in some dirt into the holes and let the grass keep growing. It helped a little bit, but it didn't take care of the problems.
And how long ago was that?
Our last fall.
I was gonna say early last fall.
Oh.
When you hauled that out
Really
there,
didn't
was
last.
it like August, September? Yep. Yeah, early fall.
Wow.
We have three, just for knowledge purposes, we have three grass runways, plus a grass taxiway. So we have way more grass airfield surface than we do pavement. And so it's not like, oh, hey, we just have this, you know, 30-foot wide by several 100-foot long grass area that needs dirt. No, when you add it all up, it's several miles of 50-foot wide grass area that needs dirt. So there's just a lot of area out there to do this.
Where did you get the dirt from last time, Tim? Do we have the dirt?
We had some.
Okay.
Why do we have that? Is it different directions, okay, depending on what the wind's doing?
It's all wind directional.
Okay. I did not know we had 3 separate grass runways.
Yes, we actually technically have 4 runways.
Are they used quite often, the grass?
I'm gonna defer that to the pilot community.
Well,
some
they're
of it more,
getting
some of
almost
it-
unusable with all the dips. I mean,
Okay.
we're landing at 60 to 80 mile an hour, and then you drive your car at 40 and you go about airborne, just driving your car down there.
Right now, a lot of the guys are using because the asphalt was in such poor condition, but we got that grant, so that's going to help take care of that for a couple of
Right.
years, so they won't have to use the grass as often, but some guys still like to use the grass because the seeds are on the tires.
Right.
You know, it's less wear and tear on the tires.
I went to a couple of board meetings, and a lot of the guys said that they like to use them because of the wear and tear. On
Especially the ag
tire
spray community.
Okay.
I have no problem with helping out and putting some dirt out there personally. I mean, I think we can talk about that, but I just wonder, if we're gonna be doing this every 6 months for eternity, or what's the long-term fix?
The long term is we completed the master plan for the airport here a couple of years ago. The long term is we actually, we applied for KDOT funding, just like we did the asphalt repair. We've applied to do the next steps in that master plan, which long term gets us to where one of the turf runways goes away because we're gonna build a new main runway. And then during that main runway build, we can actually rehab the turf runways. So part of that answer says, how soon will KDOT fund the next step? We've applied for it twice now and not been successful in the last 2 years. That being said, I haven't seen if it's passed the House yet. It came out of the Senate committee and it passed the Senate committee, KDOT, aviation, so it's airport money that cannot be touched by other KDOT or moved around by the governor. They've been funding airports for the last 20 years at $5 million a year. That's how much money they had to spend on all Kansas airports, KDOT aviation. The proposal that's out there now and should pass is gonna raise that to $15 million a year. So with 3 times the money, there's gonna be more projects funded, so we hope that now that puts Marion in a better spot to take those next steps and get some funding. And if we can get funding for those other projects, then part of this, 5 to 7 years from now kind of goes away. So it's not like we're gonna be doing dirt repairs in perpetuity, but in the near term, if we wanna keep the pilots in good shape and we don't have any more accidents out there,
Safe, yeah.
we've had a couple of tail issues still on the asphalt runway.
I'm speaking just for myself, but I feel like that we have that airport's an asset to the community, and I'm really not one to speak very well on this, because I'm not a pilot or anything, but I think it's better than most small towns have, or at least it was better then, and hopefully we get the asphalt fixed up. But I think we need to try to maintain that if we can. So what I'm asking the council is there I don't think it makes council action to, I think the city administrator can orchestrate that in cooperation with the city superintendent. Anyone have any issue with that?
No.
Okay, so, this is Mr. McInerney. He's our city administrator, and what I would suggest is call the city office, and so that you guys can be able to communicate with each other, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on the public forum? We took that to a little bit of an extreme there, but.
At one of your future work sessions, if you'd like to, I'll work with Mark, and if you would like to have on one of those work sessions, kind of an overall airport master plan review, too, we can do that at one of those.
I like, that's a good
Speed
idea.
on the whole,
Be a good idea.
what the far end game is planned for the airport.
I think, Darren, that would be, and Mark, yeah, let's do it. We gotta start on that whenever you guys wanna start on it, because we gotta get through all these things at some point in time. Okay, anyone else, any comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed.